which is beliefs. But we're not going to quite go that deep into it. We're going to talk about companion relationships a little more. At Good Shepherd, I've had the opportunity to spend a lot of time in Belize over the last 7 years, and in Malawi over the past 3 in Africa. I've come to value personally as well as institutionally these relationships from these 2 different specific places. In the Book of Common Prayer on page 840, there's the thanksgiving for the diversity of races and cultures. Anybody have it memorized? Okay, great. Why don't we turn to page 840 in whatever color they are at Eastern Shore Chapel. Since they told we have to talk for 20 minutes, this will kill like 3 minutes right here. Find the page. They're blue here. Page 840 in the Thanksgivings for Diversity of Races and Cultures. Everybody got it? If you're a Baptist, you're like, ring a bell because you found it first and you could read it. Okay, let's read it together. Ready? I actually don't have it in front of me. I left out the parts I didn't like. 840 for the diversity of races. Can we turn the lights back off? It just makes me feel a little more like Kathy Griffin. It'll be a lot more fun with the lights off. No, really, turn the lights off. Well, if you brought your iPhones or your iPads and you hit the little dot by the back door, you'd have had it on your iPads. Get it? From what he said earlier. Never mind. Okay. Oh God, who created all peoples in your image, we thank you for the wonderful diversity of races and cultures in this world. Enrich our lives by ever-widening circles of fellowship and show us your presence in those who differ most from us, until our knowledge of your love is made perfect in our love for all your children. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. There are like 3 words that we really use at Good Shepherd when we're talking about Belize or Malawi especially. And those are the ever-widening circles. In all 3 places at Good Shepherd, and in Belize and Malawi, at St. Matthew's and at St. Hilda's in Belize, there's a game that kids know how to play, and it's Duck Duck Goose. And that was sort of an image that I thought about ever-widening the circles, because when all the kids come together, and then you want everyone to get in a circle, you do whatever kind of game or beat them or whatever it takes to get them in the circle to start playing the game. And so this was sort of a great jumping off point, is what our sort of goal is at Good Shepherd, ever-widening the circles. And really showing how that as human beings we're a lot more alike than we are different. Our likenesses are way greater than our differences. About 8 years ago, I traveled with a group of teenagers from Good Shepherd to our companion diocese of Belize. If you asked me 8 years ago why I went to Belize, I wouldn't have said it like this because it would have been a little obnoxious. It would have been like, we want to help the people, we want to help the poor people. If you ask now why we go to Belize, it would sound a little more something like this. Traveling with teenagers and people from the U.S. to Belize, for me, is an effort to allow time and space for interpersonal connections. A space that might bring us a little closer to recognizing that we have so many more similarities than we have differences. And I think it sort of starts from like how we use stereotypes and how we hear stories from other places. There was a commercial in Africa about Africa. I don't know what it's about. What was the lady's name from like the R.G. Bunker show? Yeah. Not her, the other one. Sally Struthers, the one that did like the feed the children commercial with the kids with no shirts on with flies in the truck and throwing rice. There was that image that I had as a kid of what Africa was like. And the other image that I had was when people said, finish your food, don't go there hungry people starving in Africa. So those were the 2 images that I had of what Africa was. That was the only lens that I really did. And then there were giraffes and elephants and really cool animals, which I'd never seen in Africa when I was there. So those 2 things were based on what I thought Africa was like. It was the Feed the Children commercial with Sally Struthers, and then to finish your food because there are starving people in the world. Only seeing people through this lens makes it about pity and disadvantage and sadness. So I want you to sort of close your eyes for a second. Think about the absolute busiest week in your entire life. Who does Christian Ed here? Who's ever done Bible school? Been in charge of Bible school? Or anything else that's really big? Oh. If there are only two of you, then you should do Bible school this summer. Or a CPA or an accountant, or the busiest week of your life. So it's Thursday night, the busiest week of your entire life. Or you have 5 kids, and it's that way every single week. It's Thursday, you've gotten home late, you haven't done laundry, you're out of toilet paper, so you have to go in the kitchen and put paper towels in the bathroom because you don't have any toilet paper. It's, 11 o'clock, you was it DVR, DDR, however you recorded Grey's Anatomy, and you're sitting on the couch in a Snuggie, eating cereal for dinner, watching Grey's Anatomy. And someone comes in and takes a photograph of your house and you at that very instant. And then they put that photo all over the world as being the only story that someone knows about you. Now, if it were opposite and my house was really, really clean and perfect for that one day and they took that picture, that'd be okay. So how do we look at people? That was really funny. So how do we look at people, Saturday morning, how do we look at people through multiple lenses? How do we not just see one story about a person? And I'm really guilty. I was, still am probably. When I went to Malawi the first time, I was like, I'm a musician, I want to get some drums, African music, it's going to be amazing. So I meet with the first group of teenagers that I didn't realize when I went I was going to be doing music with. And so I try to be, after I've done police a lot of times, I thought, well, I'm not going to go tell them what they should do because that's not what we're supposed to do. So I want to go hear their music. So someone has a recorder, and then they put their music on, and I'm like, where are the drums? Where's the shakers? It's going to be so much fun. African music is so much better. They played Lady Gaga and Michael Jackson. Because teenagers and kids, no matter where they are, all over the world are the same. We have a lot more in common than we have different. Then we're different. We must not let the only lens which we view developing countries be that of incomprehensible people fighting senseless wars, dying of AIDS, unable to speak for themselves, and waiting to be saved by a kind American. John Locke, who was a Western merchant in 1561, I wasn't around, after referring in his book, in his journals of his travel, he referred to Africans as beasts without homes. He writes, they're also people without heads, having their eyes and their mouths and their breast. Now, I'm all for embellishment in the story to make people laugh, but that's a little more. 1561, that negative image that was written down of Africa was already being told through a single lens to the Western world when people read it. One of pity. One thing that's cool that I think is and that goes along with that is the word mission trips. Even though they're totally meant to be used in a really great way, it somehow makes us separate from them and that we're going to do something for them. That first year that I went to police, that's what we were going to do. We were going to do something great to somewhere else. And they had all these goals, and our teenagers were going to come back to the U.S. and be human beings that were kind to people and nice. There were just huge agendas. Second year, same type thing, except for I got a little smarter, and I thought, okay, here's what we'll do. We'll take teenagers from the United States and teenagers from Belize, and we'll spend a weekend together planning a camp for kids. That way it's not us doing something for them, it's our teenagers and their teenagers doing something together. Where I failed was I picked a Dr. Seuss book, which is great, like Horton Hears a Who, except when there are lots of languages and lots of cultures, Dr. Seuss language is the best one to use since a lot of his words aren't real words in any culture. So the whole time there was this empty look on everyone's face, I don't even know what are some of the words in Dr. Seuss books. But and we kept trying because I had this underlying goal that I was going to try to be like Harry Potter or what's his name, Voldemort, and control everything and make it such a good experience for everybody. And we're not going to go help the poor people, we were going to go do this and that. When it started working was when I stopped trying to control it. Claire Poole convinced me about 3 years ago, what would happen if you went to police with no plan whatsoever? And I was thinking I would get killed and no one would send their kids, because everybody wants it to be this big thing. But I sold the idea, and that's what we did. We went with no intention of doing anything. Even in the back of my head, I wanted to do a Dr. Seuss book. But it was the best experience we've ever had there, because it was our 4th year going there with the same community. We go to the same parish in Belize. We go to the same parish in Malawi, year after year after year. And the relationships just develop in amazing ways. And it really does, accentuate how much more we are alike than we are different. We use the word exchange instead of mission trip. That way it's both and. This year we have Belize kids coming here for the first, not we being Good Shepherd do. Belize kids have been here to Chango before, which is really cool. And, so the whole point, I think, for me is that we do really have so many more similarities than we do differences. And the more we strive to widen those circles of fellowship, the more that really does happen. And the more it really is real and not about, it more becomes about equality and we're all the same. Everyone has the same. There's a video. And if you're anti-guns, I'm really sorry. The video is not about guns. So hopefully if the next person's talking about gun control, that might be good. This is a video that a group put out. It kind of says a lot more poetically what I'm trying to say. This little boy's name is Alex. He's from Tanzania, or Tanzania, I'm not sure which. And you'll kind of see exactly what happens. So how long have I been talking? Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Schwarzenegger, you California, as the governor of California. One day, I know this child, a child was called Jenny. The thieves come to attack that they take the child of Arnold Schwarzenegger. But Arnold said, no, I must take my child.
And if he wants your kid back, then you gotta cooperate, right? Wrong.
Like this. If we stop, your child is killed.
I would nail her to you in pieces.
The Lord is very clever. A friend brought another production which passed in the water. Because people over the river. He was saving a lot of things for fighting. He has a knife, the bow. Yes, this book, the gun, this book, everything is ready for fighting. Now I want to go to keep up the people. You see the people Japan? Start killing the people.
party. So if you Google Mama Hope, I'm not sure what that is. But it should be something good for that. So that's sort of what, our hope is, I think, in doing Companion Dice, is that we do really realize that, kids are kids and people are people, and parents want their kids to go to college and have great educations, and kids want to play with bombs and guns. No kidding. Kids want to play and have a great time and great imaginations, and and then it just sort of leaks over into every day of our life. One thing that we're not really good in my parish with details and electronics and all that good stuff, and so I accidentally put a cabaret show thing our choir's doing the same night that Nest is in Norfolk, which is the Norfolk Emergency Shelter Team. And I was like, oh crap, when it was all set up. But then folks at church were like, that's awesome. They thought it was, so that everybody from Nest, the homeless folks, they thought it was such a great thing that they were there at the same time we were doing it. It wasn't an issue at all. And then of course they were like, can they join the choir? Can they sing? We need them really bad. Do they have kids? It was sort of that church growth here going on. But it was an awesome, just sort of like, again, exclamation point on our goal and my goal that we really are a lot more alike than we are different. And that would be my hope for folks to take back to their parishes and do these type of exchanges. So thank you, and sorry about the guns and violence. I don't have a gun and I'm not a gun promoter, but it was a great video.
He's running away. Do you have questions? Would you do to me? Do you have any questions? Okay, Alex.
Okay, that's like a story, not a question, because we currently are in a transition period at Shepherd. There's no rector, and one of the really cool things about going to the same place year after year is that they're just kind of like, we're all excited because it's like visiting family that you actually like, that you're actually really excited about going to see. And so two of the kids who are in the marching band in San Ignacio Belize are graduating this year and going to college. What's their last big band competition? So they asked me just to come because it's what kids do, And so two of us said that we would go, again, without checking calendars, and realized that the band competition's on Good Friday. He's a church musician, not being but we have to go. So when we're doing that, we go every summer to Belize, to the same place. We're never going to afford a plane ticket. Every 2 years is what it's kind of looking like, every other summer.
Do you invite others to go, or is there a set group?
Sure, it's always a ragtag group of whoever wants to go sort of does it, kind of goes. We're talking about in Norfolk a little bit with the youth convocation, sort of opening it up. I'm a real strong believer, a little bit too, in not taking more than 10 to 12 people, because it's a little overwhelming. Like if you were in your parish hall and 85 people walked in from another country, we all have the same thing. It's like, oh my gosh, what are we going to feed them? What are we going to do? They're having the same thoughts, so I try to keep it under 12 people.
I want to know how the film was made. Did Alex write the script, then you put in the characters, or how did these two things get together?
Well, I would hope that it would be someone who saw that Alex was in a relationship with Alex and saw that he loved that movie, and then it sort of kind of bubbled up from like there. That would be my hope. In California, he kind of does. Yeah, I think that maybe he had seen that movie, and someone saw how much he loved it and recited it, and they connected the dots to make that happen. Yeah.
On a practical note, how do you fund the trip? What kind of fundraising do the kids need to do?
Well, for the kids that we take to go, I've sort of found that people are excited, and and that money kind of doesn't become the bottom line. No one's was never not able to go that wanted to go. It always sort of happened. One thing that we don't do is fundraise money for travel, though. Which I know that's really hard, and some people do, and luckily we've not done that a whole lot. We have done a fundraiser. It's kind of a lot. We did sort of slip in some fundraisers that raise some money this is like a fund for anybody who sort of really wants to go but can't.
So each individual pays their own way. Is that what you're saying?
Right. And Belize costs we go from Friday we go on a Friday and come back on the following Saturday. And for food, everything, it's like $1,200.
Plus airfare?
Does that include airfare?
Yeah.
So you could say that.
So I have a question.
Which are 1,200. Have you done?
How do you go about finding a church?
You know, it's like online dating is really hard. Because like, it took us, out of the 8 years I've been going to Belize, you know, there are lots of places in Belize, and it is our companion diocese. I think who's been to Belize? I think a lot of folks go to Holy Cross. Who's been to Holy Cross? Who's been somewhere different than Holy Cross? Oh, that's good. Where have you been? Oh, cool. It is sort of like dating a little bit. It sort of like naturally has to happen. One thing at the parish where I was like, yeah, this is the one I want to do. This is awesome. This is amazing. This is great. The priest there has a little different view because he is a SAMS missionary who's a priest in Belize. So he comes from a little different school of thought. So we got there and he was kind of like, when are you going to build the first house? And I'm like, I'm not in the details. You do not want me building a house. I'll pick out the wallpaper, but I'm not sure you know how to build the house. It is, and you're going to run into some stumbling blocks there. So like, they don't always return calls. It's sort of like you just go and you sort of know who you fall in love with. That's kind of how it happened. In Malawi, I'm a musician, and we're at deaf school. How's that working for me? It's amazing. It's like the best place. It's great. So I think it's sort of a mutual choosing. You just kind of know what works.
How come we don't consider many companion relationships within our diocese?
Well, see, that's what I was saying. Like the whole doing these type things. I don't know this to be true, but 20 years ago, if Nest would have came the same weekend that we were having a music event, would people have been like, oh, that's awesome, they can come? Or would it be like, we have to change the date? I wonder if it sort of bubbles up and inherently just becomes part of the fabric of who we are, who the individuals are, and who the parish is. But absolutely, you should do it locally here, to always be in relation with other people. Mission Holy Spirit.
Two thoughts that are not necessarily related. One of them is I had a chance a couple of years ago to be part of an ongoing mission in the Dominican Republic. And as we got ready to do that, and again, this costs money, but I was part of a team of people who went to the Dominican Republic and traveled around visiting various churches to get a sense of what each church might be looking for. And then our parish chose from that information which church to go to, and then we sent an advanced team. In the parish I was serving had a big medical community, and so a nurse and I went back and did sort of advanced work for going and doing a mission trip, although I like your exchange terminology better.
Yeah, and that works really good too. People who have been a lot and traveled around and know different people's personalities can also help know this is a really good place and this is a really good place. And what if you've met? You could be like companion diocese relationships match.com.
Yes. And then the other thing I was going to say was just a story that has always struck me of a church that had a relationship with another parish in some other country, I don't remember where, and they had gone at least one time and seen that this parish had all these children and there didn't seem to be much for them to do. So on the next trip, the United States parish took the tools to build a playground, and they built this beautiful wooden playground. And when they went back the following year, the playground was gone. There was nothing there. And they said to the people, what happened to this playground that we built? And the people said, what we really needed was the wood to warm our houses. And it was an example of a conversation that hadn't happened. They hadn't asked the people, what do you need?
And that's a huge thing that's really, with the long-term relationships, the mutual trust between the two different places, both being able to say that, because they're being really great hosts, so they don't want to say, well, we don't need no playground, we need some firewood. But not being able to say that or not being able to have that sort of conversation.
And I don't think I need a microphone. Well, I was in. I was in Africa a year ago, and it was put to so well there by the company with whom we were going, which was &Beyond, because they also they want to employ the community around them, so they have a mutual thing. I was out. We went out one couple of hours to a community where the people were building a pipeline to come down, bottom line from the well to where the people could get it. The bottom line was, and also on the signs, a church, Episcopal church in Dallas, was supporting this community also. But it was, don't tell us or don't presume what we need, ask us, and then engage us, because they were doing all the work. The little children were pushing pieces of pipe and all. And I think that's where things like Farm Aid and all of the ideas of giving money and not asking the people what they need and what they want, which is just following up on what she said with more work.
And I do think it's really good as far as money goes, when you do money, that it goes from sort of to the diocese, so that it kind of has sort of a system and structure that it goes through. And saying that as a not really big, good system structure person, money gets really tricky. And when it can go through that level, then it doesn't make the relationships about money.
Right.
Too.
One last question?
I'm sorry, I just had a comment to make about the heifer program that, from the information I read, that you could buy a heifer and the family gets the milk and the benefit from it, and the calves are, spread out. And a program like that can actually feed a community and change their life, I think that would be very worthwhile. And we've participated in our church with it, so it's just an idea to throw out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.